The emergency alert system of the Galactic Concordance Council chambers had never screamed with such visceral intensity. Holographic displays fractured and recalibrated, casting prismatic light across the stunned faces of a dozen alien species. Admiral Elena Rodriguez stood at the epicenter of this gathering storm, her cybernetic eyes cycling through data streams so rapidly they appeared as liquid mercury against her olive skin. Behind her, massive view screens showed the unprecedented exodus. Human ships, thousands of them, were systematically disconnecting from every known galactic network. Military vessels, research platforms, civilian transports, and even isolated research outposts were simultaneously powering down their international communication arrays and plotting unprecedented jump coordinates. Saracle, the crystalline Vorex representative, began to physically fracture, tiny fissures spreading across its multifaceted body like a living mosaic cracking under extreme pressure. Its species was renowned for their emotional stability, capable of maintaining perfect geometric form under the most extreme circumstances. But this was beyond comprehension. "We're leaving," Elena declared, 3 simple words that would reshape galactic history. The Nexus delegation, a collective consciousness represented by a shimmering holographic swarm, began to pulse with increasing agitation. Their quantum predictive algorithms were experiencing unprecedented cascading failures. Millions of potential futures were simultaneously collapsing, rendering their typically infallible forecasting completely useless. "Explanation," demanded Krithax, the methane-breathing Aryan ambassador, his gaseous form condensing with barely contained fury. "Humanity cannot simply withdraw. We have trees. Mutual defense protocols. Economic interdependencies that—" Elena cut him off with a gesture. A single data spike transmitted from her cybernetic implant, flooding the Council's systems with encrypted packets. Before anyone could react, the information vanished, leaving behind only a cryptographic ghost, a tantalizing hint of something monumentally significant. "The concordance has served its purpose," she said, her voice carrying a weight that suggested meanings far beyond the words themselves. "Humanity has completed its preliminary assessments. The next phase requires isolation." Preliminary assessments, next phase. The phrases hung in the chamber like unexploded ordnance. Junior Communications Officer Lyra Nomura, stationed in the secondary monitoring hub, noticed something extraordinary amid the chaos. As each human vessel disconnected, they were transmitting a complex mathematical sequence. A pattern so intricate, it seemed to burn itself into the communication arrays. It wasn't just data, it was something else. Something that made the quantum processors vibrate with an almost sentient resonance. In the Concordance's central archive, ancient data cores suddenly began to activate. Buried protocols, dormant for centuries, started a slow, methodical awakening. Something was happening. Something big. "How long?" asked the Nexus representative, its holographic form becoming momentarily unstable. Elena's cybernetic eye locked onto the collective consciousness. 37 years, 2 months, 16 days. Exactly as calculated. The statement meant nothing to the other species. But something in her tone suggested a plan so vast, so incomprehensible, that it defied traditional understanding of strategy, diplomacy, or even warfare. As the last human ships began their final disconnection sequences, a strange quantum signature began to propagate across the galactic communication network. It wasn't a message. It wasn't a warning. It was more like a systemic infection, a complex algorithmic structure that seemed to rewrite the very fundamental communication protocols of the Concordance. Zuracle's fractured form suddenly realigned, its crystalline structure reassembling with an audible, musical chime. For just a moment, something that might have been understanding, or terror, flickered across its geometric surface. Elena Rodriguez allowed herself the briefest of smiles. One mission was ending. Another was about to begin. "Goodbye," She said simply to the stunned council, "We'll be back." The human delegation's communication link terminated. But that terminal click carried with it the promise of something far more significant than a mere goodbye. It was the sound of a door closing, and another, unimaginably vast door, preparing to open. The research station hung in space like a forgotten wound, a massive, angular structure that seemed to defy the conventional laws of quantum mechanics. Dr. Marcus Chen worked inside, surrounded by containment fields that pulsed with an energy that made reality itself seem malleable. His fingers danced across holographic interfaces, each movement releasing cascades of data that would have driven lesser minds to madness. Chen had long since passed the point of traditional scientific understanding. He was exploring something else entirely, a method of universal manipulation that existed between mathematics and pure consciousness. 3 years had passed since humanity's withdrawal, and the galaxy was unraveling. In the Nexus Collective's primary computational core, quantum processors that had once predicted galactic events with near-perfect accuracy now churned out nothing but static and impossible equations. The collective consciousness found itself, for the first time in its recorded history, blind to potential futures. Crix, the disgraced Vorex intelligence analyst, sat in a dimly lit asteroid base surrounded by fragments of human data. Encrypted messages, partial schematics, glimpses of technology so advanced they bordered on the metaphysical. These were the pieces of a puzzle that consumed every waking moment. A holographic display flickered to life, showing the economic collapse spreading across former human-controlled sectors. Trade routes that had been the backbone of galactic commerce for centuries were disintegrating. The Aryan merchant fleets, once the most adaptable economic force in the Concordance, found themselves lost without the human networks that had invisibly supported their entire economic infrastructure. "It's not just a withdrawal," Crix muttered, manipulating data streams with crystalline appendages. "It's a systematic deconstruction." On the communication hub of the Galactic Concordance, rumors had become the only currency of value. Some claimed humans had discovered an apocalyptic threat, a cosmic horror so profound that withdrawal was the only rational response. Others suggested a massive technological revolution that would render current galactic civilization obsolete. A fragment of intercepted human communication caught Crix's attention. It was a countdown. But a countdown to what? Back at the research station, Dr. Chen made a minute adjustment to a quantum entanglement chamber. The entire structure seemed to ripple, momentarily existing in multiple states simultaneously. Outside the station's protective fields, space itself looked different. Fractal patterns danced at the edges of perception, hinting at realities just beyond normal comprehension. An Aryan scout ship, pursuing rumors of human activity, approached a station. Before the pilot could initiate scanning protocols, Dr. Chen activated a device. The entire research station simply vanished. Not destroyed. Not transported. Simply gone, leaving behind only a quantum signature that drove the scout's sensors into a feedback loop of madness. The Nexus Collective began to fragment. Their perfect predictive models had always been based on statistical probability and advanced quantum computing. But humanity's withdrawal had introduced a variable they could not calculate, a fundamental uncertainty that threatened to tear the collective consciousness apart. Crix discovered something extraordinary while analyzing the fragmented human data. The withdrawal wasn't random. It was precise, calculated. Each disconnected human asset had left behind microscopic data traces, a complex network of information that seemed to be slowly reconfiguring the fundamental communication infrastructure of the galaxy. On a dozen different planetary systems, strange phenomena began to manifest. Communication arrays would briefly display impossible mathematical sequences. Quantum computers would generate solutions to problems that hadn't yet been asked. Entire research facilities on their most advanced projects mysteriously accelerated, as if guided by an unseen hand. The countdown and the intercepted human transmission continued. No one knew what it was counting down to. Dr. Marcus Chen allowed himself the briefest moment of satisfaction. The first phase was nearly complete. Humanity's great work was about to begin. Outside the vanished research station, space itself seemed to hold its breath, waiting. The unraveling had only just begun. The black market of information had never been more lucrative or more dangerous. In the bustling undercity of New Nexus Prime, information brokers traded fragments of human data like they were more precious than antimatter. Crix moved through the crowded marketplace, his crystalline body carefully disguised beneath a holographic camouflage. Each data fragment was a puzzle piece, and he was determined to complete the image. A Regellian trader approached, her multiple tentacles carefully cradling a quantum-encrypted data crystal. "Interested?" she whispered, her translator implant distorting the words into a melodic undertone. This came from a human research vessel that went dark 3 sectors away from the Carina Nebula. Crix's internal systems hummed with anticipation. These fragments were more than mere information. They were breadcrumbs of a cosmic conspiracy that seemed to stretch beyond comprehension. The data crystal revealed a partial transmission. Fragmented images of quantum matrices, mathematical sequences that seemed to breathe with an almost living complexity, and a series of coordinates that made no sense when viewed individually. But Crix was beginning to see a pattern. Across the galaxy, entire intelligence networks were consuming themselves in the hunt for answers. The Aryan Diplomatic Corps had deployed their most advanced cryptanalysis teams. The Nexus Collective had dedicated entire computational clusters to decrypting the smallest human transmission. Vorex quantum mathematicians worked in isolated chambers, their crystalline minds pushed to the absolute limits of comprehension. In a hidden research facility on the edge of explored space, Dr. Imara Okik reviewed the latest anomaly reports. Something was changing, subtly, inexorably. Quantum communication networks were developing unexpected resonance patterns. Star systems at the galactic rim were experiencing microscopic but consistent temporal shifts. Her colleague, Dr. Rafael Santos, pointed to a holographic display showing multiple star systems. "Look at these quantum signature variations," he muttered. "It's like the fabric of spacetime is being recalibrated." Crix's investigation led him to an abandoned human research outpost. Most would have seen nothing but a decaying structure. But his enhanced perception caught something extraordinary. Microscopic data nodes embedded in the very walls, creating a complex network that seemed to exist between physical matter and pure information. A single encrypted transmission caught his attention. A countdown. But not just any countdown. A sequence so complex it seemed to fold in on itself, creating mathematical possibilities that shouldn't exist. 37 years, 2 months, 16 days. The same time frame Admiral Elena Rodriguez had mentioned during the initial withdrawal. In the deepest archives of the Galactic Concordance, a forgotten protocol began to activate. Dormant systems that had been in place for centuries suddenly showed the faintest signs of life. Something was preparing. Something massive. The information market was going mad. Rumors spread like quantum viruses. Humans had discovered a threat to the entire universe. They were developing technology beyond comprehension. An entire species had gone into collective hibernation to prepare for something unimaginable. Each rumor carried a fragment of truth. Each lie concealed a deeper mystery. Crix assembled his findings. The human withdrawal wasn't an ending. It was a preparation. A massive, galaxy-wide preparation for something that defied traditional understanding. The data fragments began to form a picture. Not a complete image, but enough to send chills through even the most stoic computational systems. Humanity hadn't abandoned the galaxy. They were protecting it. From what? No one yet knew. In the research station that wasn't supposed to exist, Dr. Marcus Chen reviewed the latest calibration data. Everything was proceeding exactly as calculated. The first phase was nearly complete. Outside, space itself seemed to hold its breath, Waiting. Reality fractured on the morning the Andromeda cluster went silent. Dr. Imara O'Keefe watched in horror as the holographic display in her research lab transformed from a standard galactic map into a nightmare of quantum impossibility. Entire star systems appeared to fold, twist, and momentarily exist in multiple states simultaneously. The quantum sensors screamed, not with electronic noise, but with a kind of mathematical agony that threatened to break the very concept of observation. "That's impossible," she whispered, knowing full well that impossibility had become the new baseline of galactic existence. The quantum tremors had been building for months. At first, they were microscopic, slight variations in quantum communication arrays, imperceptible temporal shifts that only the most sensitive instruments could detect. Now they were tearing the fabric of space-time apart. On the research station Nexus Omega, Dr. Rafael Santos worked frantically, his fingers dancing across quantum interfaces that seemed to respond with a life of their own. The data patterns were unlike anything in scientific record. Mathematical sequences that existed between known physical laws, communication protocols that seemed to breathe with an almost organic intelligence. Crix, the Vorex analyst, had discovered something extraordinary. The quantum tremors weren't random. They followed a pattern, a complex, deliberate sequence that suggested profound, intentional manipulation of fundamental physical laws. In the communication hub of the Galactic Concordance, panic was setting in. The Aryan diplomatic corps reported entire communication networks collapsing. Star systems at the galactic rim were experiencing impossible phenomena. Time flowing backwards in some regions, quantum states becoming fluid, entire planetary ecosystems transforming overnight. A transmission intercepted from a deep space research vessel told a chilling story. "Can't explain. The stars are moving backward." No, not just moving, rewriting themselves. The mathematical foundation of reality feels like it's being recalibrated. The message cut off abruptly. Dr. Marcus Chen reviewed the data from his hidden research station. Everything was proceeding exactly as calculated. The quantum destabilization was right on schedule, the first phase of a plan decades in the making. Crix's investigation had uncovered a pattern. Each quantum anomaly bore a subtle signature, a mathematical pattern that hinted at deliberate design. It was like watching a massive, galaxy-wide repair network in action. But who, or what, was doing the repairs? The Nexus Collective found its predictive algorithms completely overwhelmed. For the first time in their species' history, they could not model even the most basic future scenarios. Their quantum computers generated impossible equations, mathematical solutions to problems that hadn't yet been asked. On a dozen different planetary systems, research facilities experienced unexplainable phenomena. Quantum computers generated solutions that defied conventional logic. Communication arrays displayed mathematical sequences that seemed to rewrite the fundamental laws of information transfer. Entire research projects accelerated beyond known scientific capabilities. Dr. O'Keefe discovered something that sent chills through her entire research team. The quantum tremors weren't destroying reality. They were restructuring it. Each anomaly was like a precise surgical intervention, addressing fundamental instabilities in the fabric of spacetime. "It's a repair network," she told Santos, her voice a mixture of terror and awe. "Someone, or something, is fixing the universe." The countdown continued. 37 years, 2 months, 16 days. In the deepest archives of the Galactic Concordance, ancient data cores that had been dormant for centuries began to activate. Buried protocols started a slow, methodical awakening. Something was happening. Something massive. Outside the research stations, beyond the quantum interfaces and desperate scientific investigations, space itself seemed to hold its breath. The tremors were just the beginning. The first human ships emerged from quantum fold space like ghosts, vessels that seemed to phase between reality and something else entirely. They were unlike any technology the Galactic Concordance had ever witnessed. Sleek, impossibly geometric, with hull surfaces that appeared to breathe and shift, defying every known principle of material science. Admiral Elena Rodriguez stood at the center of the Concordance Council chamber, her presence alone commanding absolute attention. Her body had changed, no longer entirely human, no longer entirely machine, but something transcendent. Cybernetic augmentations flowed beneath her skin like liquid metal, her cybernetic eye a swirling quantum interface that seemed to see multiple realities simultaneously. "We were preparing humanity to become something more," she announced, her voice carrying a resonance that made the chamber's quantum communication arrays vibrate. Behind her, holographic projections began to unfold, data streams that were more than mere information. They were living mathematics, complex algorithms that showed the universe itself as a dying system. Planetary maps revealed quantum wounds, cosmic structural failures that had been invisible to previous scientific understanding. Crix, the Vorex analyst, watched in stunned silence. The Tune ships were doing something impossible. As they moved through space, reality itself seemed to realign. Quantum instabilities smoothed out. Temporal anomalies collapsed. It was like watching a master surgeon repair the most complex organism imaginable, except the organism was the universe itself. Dr. Imara Okit's research team had been monitoring the human return. Their initial scans revealed technology so advanced it bordered on the metaphysical. The Tune vessels weren't just traveling through space. They were rewriting the fundamental laws of physics with each movement. "It's not technology," Dr. Rafael Santos muttered, reviewing the data. "It's more like applied consciousness." The Nexus Collective found its quantum processors overwhelmed. For the first time in their history, they were experiencing something beyond prediction, beyond calculation. The Hune intervention defied every known model of scientific understanding. An Aryan diplomatic representative, its gaseous form condensing with barely contained tension, demanded an explanation. "What have you done? What threat could possibly justify your withdrawal?" Elena Rodriguez's quantum-enhanced eye focused on the representative. The holographic display shifted, revealing a cosmic perspective that made the entire council fall silent. It was a visualization of universal entropy, a process far more catastrophic than any localized threat. The universe itself was dying, its fundamental structural integrity slowly collapsing across billions of years. "Humanity discovered a fundamental threat," she explained. "Not to a planet. Not to a civilization, but to existence itself." The Hune ships began systematically moving through critical points across the galaxy. Where they passed, reality seemed to heal. Collapsed star systems stabilized. Quantum structural failures repaired themselves. It was like watching a massive, galaxy-wide immune response. Crix discovered something extraordinary in the data streams. The Hune intervention wasn't just a technological solution. It was a complete reimagining of how intelligent life could interact with the fundamental fabric of reality. Dr. Marcus Chen, still working from his hidden research station, allowed himself the briefest moment of satisfaction. Phase 2 was beginning. The Concordance Council watched in stunned silence as Elena Rodriguez continued her explanation. Humanity hadn't just developed advanced technology. They had discovered a method to interact with the universe's most fundamental structures, transforming theoretical physics into a form of applied reality manipulation. "We are not here to lead," Elena declared. "We are here to show a path of transformation." The implications were staggering. Humans were no longer just a species. They were becoming something else entirely, a potential evolutionary bridge to a new form of cosmic intelligence. Outside the council chambers, the human ships continued their work, repairing, realigning, transforming. The countdown continued, 37 years, 2 months, 16 days. Something extraordinary was happening. The stabilization efforts began with a precision that defied comprehension. Dr. Imara Okik watched in awe as human vessels moved through critical galactic points, leaving behind a trail of restored reality. Each intervention was like a surgical strike against cosmic entropy. Quantum wounds sealed, temporal fractures mended, entire star systems pulled back from the brink of complete dissolution. The Huon technology worked beyond the boundaries of known physics. Quantum entanglement fields expanded and contracted, creating localized reality bubbles that repaired fundamental structural failures in spacetime. Where other civilizations saw insurmountable cosmic challenges, humans saw a complex system waiting to be debugged. On the research station Nexus Omega, Dr. Rafael Santos tracked the interventions with increasingly frantic data collection. The Huon ships weren't just repairing, they were transforming. Each passed through a critical galactic point, left behind a network of quantum stabilization nodes, creating a massive, interconnected system of cosmic life support. Crix, the Vorex analyst, discovered something extraordinary. The intervention followed a mathematical pattern so complex it seemed to breathe with its own intelligence. It wasn't random. It wasn't even just calculated. It was alive. The cost of the intervention became increasingly apparent. Human ships began to show signs of extreme strain. Their hull surfaces, once smooth and impossible, now bore marks of incredible stress. Each repair came at a personal price, as if the vessels themselves were being consumed in the process of saving the universe. Admiral Elena Rodriguez oversaw the operation from the quantum command bridge of the lead vessel. Her body, now more interfaced than human, processed billions of calculations per second. She was simultaneously managing the cosmic repair network, analyzing quantum stress points, and maintaining the delicate balance of the intervention. We're addressing the symptoms, she transmitted to the Concordance Council, and the root cause. The Nexus Collective's quantum processors worked overtime, trying to understand the human approach. For the first time in their existence, they were witnessing a solution that went beyond technological intervention. This was something else entirely, a method of cosmic healing that treated the universe as a living, interconnected system. Critical points across the galaxy began to stabilize. Collapsing star systems found their gravitational integrity restored, temporal anomalies collapsed into coherent timelines. Quantum structural failures were systematically repaired. Dr. Marcus Chen, monitoring from his hidden research station, noted each intervention with clinical precision. Everything was proceeding exactly as calculated. The second phase was unfolding perfectly. The Huon intervention revealed a terrifying truth. The universe wasn't just dying, it was suffering from a fundamental structural disease. Entropy wasn't just a natural process, it was a systemic failure that could be addressed, potentially even reversed. Crix's analysis uncovered layers of complexity that drove even the most advanced alien scientific minds to the brink of comprehension. The Huon repair network was creating something more than a temporary fix. It was laying the groundwork for a fundamental redesign of cosmic infrastructure. It's like they're rewriting the operating system of reality, Dr. Santos muttered, reviewing the latest data streams. The Concordance Council watched in stunned silence as entire sectors of space were systematically restored. Planets that had been on the brink of complete environmental collapse found themselves renewed. Star systems that had been dying were suddenly vibrant with potential. But the intervention came with a price. Huon vessels began to show signs of critical failure. Their advanced technologies were being consumed in the process of cosmic repair. Each intervention took a piece of the ships, a piece of their crews, a sacrifice made with cold, calculated precision. Elena Rodriguez's quantum-enhanced consciousness processed the data. Losses were within acceptable parameters. The mission was paramount. The countdown continued. 37 years, 2 months, 16 days. As the last quantum stabilization field expanded, something extraordinary began to happen. The universe itself seemed to take a collective breath, as if something fundamental had changed. The repair was just beginning. Dr. Marcus Chen stood at the threshold of transformation. The final phase of humanity's grand design unfolded with mathematical precision. Consciousness itself had become the ultimate technology, a living algorithm that could reshape reality at its most fundamental level. Where other civilizations saw boundaries between technology, biology, and cosmic structure, humans now saw only possibility. Chen's research demonstrated something profound. Human consciousness was no longer confined to traditional biological limitations. They had become quantum architects, capable of manipulating the very fabric of existence through pure thought and advanced computational integration. Dr. Inmara O'Keefe watched in awe as human researchers demonstrated abilities that defied every known scientific principle. A team of human scientists could now directly interact with quantum states, turning theoretical physics into a form of applied reality manipulation that was indistinguishable from magic to less advanced civilizations. "We're not just observing the universe," one of the researchers explained to the stunned Concordance Council. "We're becoming a living interface with its fundamental structures." Crix, the Vorex analyst, discovered the true depth of humanity's transformation through intercepted data streams. The human intervention was more than a technological solution. It was an evolutionary leap that reimagined the very concept of intelligent life. The quantum matrices that humans had developed went beyond simple computational power. They were living networks of consciousness, capable of processing information across multiple dimensional states simultaneously. Where the Nexus Collective saw computation as a process, humans now saw it as a form of living consciousness. Admiral Elena Rodriguez appeared before the Concordance Council, her form now a seamless fusion of biological consciousness and quantum computational matrix. She was no longer simply human. She was a bridge between what humanity was and what it could become. "We are not here to lead," she explained, her voice carrying multiple harmonic frequencies that seemed to resonate with the very structure of the communication chamber. "We are here to show a path of transformation." The implications were staggering. Humanity had discovered something beyond technology, beyond biology, a method of existence that treated consciousness, computation, and cosmic structure as a single, interconnected system. Dr. Rafael Santos documented the transformation with scientific precision. Human researchers could now directly manipulate quantum states, communicate across dimensional boundaries, restructure fundamental physical laws through pure computational consciousness, interact with the universe as a living, responsive system. The other species of the Concordance watched in a mixture of terror and awe. The humans were no longer just a species. They were becoming a new form of cosmic intelligence. Entire research facilities experienced unexplainable phenomena. Communication arrays displayed mathematical sequences that seemed to breathe with living intelligence. Quantum computers generated solutions to problems that hadn't yet been fully conceptualized. Dr. Chen reviewed the final calibration data. Everything was proceeding exactly as calculated. Humanity's transformation was right on schedule. The Nexus Collective found its quantum processors completely overwhelmed. For the first time in their history, they could not predict, could not calculate, could not understand. The human approach to existence was so fundamentally different that it broke every known model of scientific understanding. An Aryan diplomatic representative asked the question on everyone's mind. "What are you becoming?" Elena Rodriguez's response was both an explanation and a revelation. "We are becoming the universe's immune system. Its method of self-repair. Its consciousness." The quantum stabilization network continued to expand. Where human vessels had passed, reality itself seemed different. More vibrant. More alive. As if the very fabric of existence had been carefully, precisely renewed. The countdown continued. 37 years, 2 months, 16 days. Something extraordinary was happening. Humanity was no longer just saving the universe. They were becoming it. The final phase of transformation began not with a bang, but with a subtle quantum resonance that spread across the galaxy like a living breath. Admiral Elena Rodriguez stood at the epicenter of creation, her consciousness now a bridge between what humanity had been and what it was becoming. The Galactic Concordance Council chamber transformed around her, no longer a place of diplomacy, but a living computational matrix that responded to thought as readily as physical interaction. "We are not conquering," she explained to the stunned representatives of a dozen alien civilizations. "We are collaborating." Dr. Marcus Chen watched from his research station, the final pieces of humanity's grand design falling into place. 37 years, 2 months, 16 days, a carefully calculated period of preparation, intervention, and ultimate transformation. Crix, the Vorex analyst who had tracked humanity's mysterious journey, finally understood the true scope of their intervention. The human approach was not about dominance, but about fundamental cosmic repair. They were rewriting the universe's operating system, not as conquerors, but as caretakers. The quantum stabilization network expanded, creating a living, responsive infrastructure that treated the entire universe as a single, interconnected organism. Where human vessels had passed, reality itself seemed more vibrant, more alive. Entire star systems that had been dying found themselves renewed. Temporal anomalies collapsed. Quantum structural failures were systematically addressed. Other species began to learn from the human approach. The Nexus Collective, once the most advanced computational civilization, found itself learning entirely new methods of understanding existence. The Aryan Diplomatic Corps discovered approaches to problem-solving that went beyond traditional computational thinking. The crystalline Vorex began to see reality not as a fixed state, but as a malleable, responsive system. Creativity is the ultimate technology, Elena explained, her consciousness now a living interface that could communicate across multiple dimensional states simultaneously. Research facilities across the galaxy experienced unprecedented breakthroughs. Quantum computers generated solutions to problems not yet fully conceived. Communication arrays displayed mathematical sequences that seemed to breathe with living intelligence. Entire scientific paradigms were reimagined in moments of quantum inspiration. Dr. Inmara Okik documented the transformation with a mixture of scientific precision and philosophical wonder. Humanity was not just saving the universe, they were teaching other civilizations how to truly see it. The boundaries between species began to dissolve, not through conquest, but through a radical reimagining of collective potential. The Concordance was no longer just a political or economic alliance. It was becoming a living, collaborative system of cosmic intelligence. Dr. Rafael Santos observed the final calibrations. The human intervention was more than a technological solution. It was an evolutionary leap that reimagined the very concept of intelligent life. "We are becoming the universe's method of self-awareness," Elena transmitted across multiple communication spectrums. Crix discovered the true depth of humanity's transformation. They had not just developed advanced technology. They had discovered a method to interact with the universe's most fundamental structures, transforming theoretical physics into a form of applied reality manipulation. The quantum matrices humans had developed went beyond simple computational power. They were living networks of consciousness, capable of processing information across multiple dimensional states simultaneously. As the final quantum stabilization fields expanded, something extraordinary happened. The universe itself seemed to take a collective breath, as if something fundamental had changed. The Concordance Council watched in stunned silence as Elena Rodriguez delivered her final explanation. Humanity was not there to lead, not there to conquer. They were there to show a path of transformation. Existence is a collaborative project, she explained, her consciousness expanding beyond the physical chamber, touching the minds of every species simultaneously. The countdown reached its final moment. 37 years, 2 months, 16 days. Something had changed. The universe was no longer just a place to exist. It was becoming aware. And humanity was its method of awakening.